Good day to you. This is Corky Alexander here in Hamilton, Alabama. Talk for a few minutes about John Wesley's idea of the world as my parish. I had done a series of teachings on Jimi Hendrix's concept of the electric church, and it reminded me that in several years of research into the works of John Wesley and Charles Wesley, that this was a specific issue for the Wesleys, and it correlates perfectly with Jimi Hendrix's concept of the electric church, which consisted basically in the fact that he believed that since Woodstock, we're living in a different time, and music should be played outdoors whenever possible. And this, so we're not requiring concert halls and salaries and things like that. You go outside and play music, and you're closer to God when you do that. For John Wesley, he was an Anglican priest of the 1700s, and he had an experience with God at Aldersgate in London. And, we've been to that place, and we've been to the house at City Road Chapel. And for a number of years, I thought that my doctoral research would be in John Wesley, but I decided against that because I discovered the problem that John Wesley had with Native Americans in Georgia in 1736, I believe it was, and thought that this was a greater problem that needed to be explored. And there were so many people writing and talking about the ideas of John Wesley that they had that covered. And so I wanted to research a different problem. But John Wesley was my guide from the very beginning of my ministry. I had to read Plain Account of Christian Perfection and was tested on it in the Pentecostal Holiness Church for my license in the 70s, 76, 77. And I continued to be an avid Wesleyan, and even am to this day. He's really a role model for me. We're not the same type person, but he's into a lot of the stuff that I'm into. And one of the things about the Anglican Church is you had geographic boundaries in England for parishes. And Kim and I have been watching a lot of these British shows like Poldark, we're watching now, where the idea of a parish and that you don't get on another guy's parish, that it was a designation that you could only visit those people in that area, and to go outside of that into any kind of open situation was not permitted for the ministers to do. And John Wesley was encouraged by George Whitefield to preach outdoors. This was a very revolutionary idea for Anglicans, and it was controversial. George Whitefield, being a Baptist, was in the movement with John Wesley, which was going outdoors. So that John Wesley often in the morning, 5 a.m. or whatever, would be preaching to the colliers, which meant coal miners. And his journal is full of experiences that he had out in the rain and outdoors with coal miners. If you follow the Journal of John Wesley, and then he appoints Francis Asbury to go to America, and you read Francis Asbury's journal, then you have much of the similar thing of them traveling on horseback over large distances. It's not a lot of cathedral work. It's not a lot. They're not in a lot of meetings other than just gatherings of uneducated preachers who come from all classes of society, and that was very controversial for the Anglicans. It's still controversial today that some person would just get a passion or a desire to reach out into the world and make changes in people's lives and help people and share ideas out in the open with just whoever's wanting to come listen. Um, the street preacher idea in America has been really tainted, and it's treated in many of the movies and so forth as you know, a practice of someone that's not balanced as a person. Uh, the movie Apostle, um, you know, brings, follows that to the very end. That anybody who's not a formal priest in an organization uh, and is under their authority, and they just go out and they just are self-made, self ordained, if you please, that they would be considered to be, committing capital offense, criminal acts, because they're crossing boundaries that people don't cross and so forth like that. The recent technological advances in the field of music, the music field, music industry, which it's often referred to as. I was never interested in joining another industry. I worked in tobacco fields, I've unloaded train cars, I've worked in factories and warehouses, and I'm really done with that. I'm really not looking to be part of the music industry. Never was, never was considered that. Any recordings that I did over the years, the last 50 some years, were done where I paid for it myself, and I had a self appointed producer, and that music was produced. And technology, of course, now, if you have a big studio and you have what you think is a hit song and everything, well, you're dead meat, because it's just going to go on YouTube and you're not going to get paid for it. And this is considered to be a real sad state of affairs, but really what it's doing is it's democratizing music in a way that former musicians are not comfortable with, but the public loves it because they can stream any music anytime they want. So I never made any money in music, and not going to now, uh, but I am available to play music in dialysis centers and hospitals, nursing homes, care centers, um, hospice settings, uh, outdoor festivals, uh, flea markets. I played 2 8-hour days at a flea market uh, in Kansas, White Cloud, Kansas. And there were people whose lives were blessed by that, and I was blessed by having done it. Uh, it's just a matter of sharing your gift and quit trying to create yourself a career, because careers are for the birds. Uh, I don't want a career. Um, I'm back to painting and drawing now, and I'm not following the rules, and I don't need a weird little guy in an afro hairdo on television to tell me how to make clouds. I just make clouds, just paint them, come out of my head, and then when I'm finished, it may not be valuable to other people, but I have shared what was inside of me, and that's the main thing. And this was John Wesley's approach to the common people. I remember reading one Wesleyan history book that talked about the people in John Wesley's audience and said they were very dangerous looking people. And that's what you get when you get out there, because people live desperate lives. And the people that need it the most are those folks. And so that's all I do anymore. It's all I've done for years. I finally got out of the formal pastoral church, you know, situation, and I got out by the skin of my teeth. And I just thank God every day I don't have to go to any more council meetings or board meetings. I don't want to see another one. Just give me a sandwich, a lawn chair, give me a guitar, give me the Bible, give me God, give me a mountain, give me the Holy Ghost. That's all I'm looking for. You say, well, you don't know what you're doing. You need to be guided. You know, how long do we need to be directed by these bosses? John Wesley just said, you know, to heck with it. I'm going to the whole world. And I got to get off here. But you ought to think about these things. Have a good day. Sorry about that.